Captain Dong Hyun couldn't believe what his sensors were showing him. He ran the scan 3 times, then a 4th. Each time the numbers stayed the same. Impossible numbers. Computer, run full diagnostic on long-range sensors, he ordered. Diagnostic. Complete. All systems functioning normally. The computer replied in its calm voice. Dong Hyun stared at his screen again. According to the readings, something huge was approaching through hyperspace. Not just 1 ship or 10 ships or even 100 ships. The computer was detecting over 50,000 separate objects, all moving together in perfect formation. This has to be wrong, he muttered. He worked at Coalition Monitoring Station Epsilon 7, a small outpost that watched for incoming fleets. In 2 years of working here, the biggest fleet he had ever detected was the Altarian Grand Fleet with 800 ships. 50,000 was beyond comprehension. "Sir," called out technician Yoon Seo from the next station. "I'm getting the same readings. Something massive is coming out of hyperspace near grid reference Tau 9. "How massive?" "Sir, the computer says it's the largest fleet in recorded galactic history." Dong Hyun rubbed his eyes. He had been working for 16 hours straight, monitoring the retreat from Nexus Prime. Maybe he was seeing things that weren't there. "Run it again," he told Yoon Seo. While she worked, Dong Hyun opened a communication channel to Coalition Command. "Command, this is Monitoring Station Epsilon 7. We're detecting a large fleet approaching from the direction of Earth." "Earth?" The voice on the other end sounded confused. "Earth doesn't have a large fleet." "Sir, our sensors show approximately 50,000 ships." Long silence. "Say again, Epsilon 7. 50,000 ships, sir. All human design. That's impossible. Earth's entire navy is maybe 200 ships." Before Dong Hyun could answer, Yoon Seo called out, "Sir, they're dropping out of hyperspace." The main screen lit up with thousands of bright flashes. Ships appeared like stars being born, one after another, in perfect rows and columns. The screen couldn't show them all at once. "Computer, count total number of vessels," Dong Hyun ordered. Counting. 57,412 vessels detected. Dong Hyun sat down heavily in his chair. 57,000 ships from Earth. The small blue world that most aliens considered barely civilized. "Yoon Seo, what types of ships are we seeing?" She worked at her station, sorting through the massive amount of data. "Sir, it's not just warships. I'm seeing battleships, yes, but also construction vessels, factory ships, mobile refineries, hospital ships, supply transports, and, sir, I'm seeing things I can't identify." "Unknown ship types?" "Not unknown, sir, just different. Like nothing in our databases." The communication system beeped. "Epsilon 7, this is Coalition Command. Confirm your readings." "Confirmed, sir. 57,000 human ships have arrived in Sector 12. Another long silence. "We're sending Admiral So Young to take command of the human fleet," Command said finally. Admiral So Young. Dong Hyun had heard of her, one of the few humans to reach high rank in the Coalition military. People said she was brilliant but strange, like she understood things about war that others didn't. "Sir," Yoon Seo said, "the human fleet is moving. They're heading straight for Nexus Prime." Dong Hyun watched as the massive fleet began to move. But they didn't move like any fleet he had ever seen. Instead of staying in a tight formation, they spread out like seeds being scattered by the wind. "What are they doing?" he wondered out loud. His answer came an hour later when the first reports started coming in from across the sector. Human ships were stopping at every asteroid, every small moon, every piece of space debris they could find. And they weren't just stopping, they were doing something. "Epsilon 7, came a transmission from survey ship Lucky Break. "We're watching. Human ships near asteroid field Delta 4, they're mining." "Mining?" Dong Hyun said. "In the middle of a war zone?" "Not just mining, sir, they're building. We're seeing construction platforms, refineries, and, sir, they just built an entire factory in 2 hours." More reports came in. Human construction ships were building structures everywhere. Not weapons platforms, not defensive positions, factories, shipyards, processing plants. They're turning the entire sector into an industrial zone. Yunseo said with amazement. Meanwhile, at Nexus Prime, Admiral Hyun-soo watched the human fleet approach. But instead of coming to help defend the station, most of the human ships flew past it and began building something. What are they building? He asked Jinwoo. Everything, Jinwoo replied. Weapons factories, ship repair yards, supply depots. Admiral, you're seeing how humans really fight wars. I don't understand. Other races build fleets and send them to fight. Humans bring the factories that build the fleets. We don't just fight with what we have, we fight with what we can make. A new voice came over the communication system. Strong, confident, female. Coalition forces. This is Admiral So-young commanding. The Terran Second Armada. We're here to end this war. Admiral Hyun-soo opened a channel. Admiral So-young, this is Admiral Hyun-soo. We're glad to see you, but the Catherian fleet is enormous. They have weapons that can destroy entire battle groups. I know, So-young replied calmly. We've been studying their tactics for months. We know exactly what they can do. Then you know we're outgunned. Admiral Hyun-soo, you're thinking like everyone else in this galaxy. You see war as ships fighting ships, weapons against weapons. But that's not how humans see war. How do humans see war? War is production. War is logistics. War is being able to build faster than your enemy can destroy. The Catherians have good weapons and fast ships, but we have something they don't have. What's that? We have the ability to adapt. Every time they destroy one of our ships, we learn something. Every time they use a weapon against us, we figure out how to defend against it. And most importantly, we can build new ships faster than they can destroy old ones. On Dong Hyun's screen at the monitoring station, the human fleet continued to spread throughout the sector. Wherever they went, new structures appeared. It was like watching a forest grow in fast motion. Sir, Yunseo said, I'm getting reports from the Catherian fleet. They're confused. Confused? Their scouts have been watching the human fleet. According to intercepted communications, they don't understand what the humans are doing. The Catherians expected a battle. Instead, they're watching humans build cities in space. Dong Hyun could understand the confusion. In every previous battle, fleets met, fought, and one side won. This was completely different. Sir, the human flagship is hailing us, Yunseo reported. Put them through. Admiral So-young's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired but determined. Behind her, Dong Hyun could see a bridge unlike any he had seen before. Instead of weapon controls, most of the stations seemed to be focused on construction and production. Captain Dong Hyun, I need you to relay a message to all coalition forces. Yes, ma'am. Tell them that the nature of this war has changed. For 18 months, the coalition has been fighting the Catherians using Catherian rules. Fast ships, powerful weapons, traditional tactics. But humans don't follow other people's rules. What rules do humans follow? So-young smiled. It wasn't a cruel smile, but it was confident in a way that made Dong Hyun feel both hopeful and a little scared. We follow the rule that says any problem can be solved with enough engineering, enough resources, and enough time. The Catherians think they're fighting a war, but they're not. They're about to discover what happens when an entire industrial civilization decides to solve the problem of their existence. The transmission ended. Dong Hyun stared at the screen for a long moment. Yunseo, how many human ships are still arriving? They've stopped coming through hyperspace, sir. But the ones that are here, they're building more ships. Building more ships? Yes, sir. The factory ships are producing new vessels. I count 200 new ships built in the last 4 hours. 200 ships built in 4 hours, while preparing for battle. For the first time since the war began, Captain Dong Hyun began to think that maybe, just maybe, the galaxy had a chance. Colonel Jae Hyun stood on the observation deck of the construction ship Iron Builder and watched something that had never happened before in galactic history. In the space around him, humans were turning empty space into a fortress. Status. Report, he called to his team. Railgun Battery 7 is online, reported Engineer Minji. We're loading asteroid chunks into the ammunition system now. How big are the chunks? Each one weighs about 50 tons, sir. Jae-hyun nodded. 50-ton rocks fired at near light speed. The Catherians had never faced weapons like that before. No one had. The technology existed, but no race had ever been crazy enough to build railguns big enough to throw asteroids. Sir, called out Communications Specialist Woo Sung. Admiral So Young wants to know if Platform Section C is ready. Jae-hyun looked out at Section C. Where there had been empty space 6 hours ago, now stood a massive weapons platform bristling with human technology. Not just railguns, but laser arrays, missile pods, and things the Coalition had never seen before. Tell the Admiral we're ahead of schedule, he said. The truth was, they were ahead of every schedule. Human construction crews worked with a speed that amazed even other humans. Part of it was the technology. Their automated systems could build things faster than most races could design them, but part of it was something else. Determination. The absolute refusal to accept defeat. Sir, Minji said, we're getting visitors. Through the observation window, Jae-hyun could see a Coalition shuttle approaching. It docked with their ship, and a few minutes later, 3 alien officers came onto the observation deck. He recognized one of them, Commander Kethzar from the Coalition Defense Force. Colonel Jae-hyun, Kethzar said, his insect-like voice full of confusion. What exactly are you building out there? A weapons platform. I can see that. But why build it here? This position has no strategic value. Jae-hyun smiled. It will when we're done. He pointed out the window to where human ships were working around a small asteroid. See that rock? In 2 hours, it's going to be a supply depot that can refuel 100 ships. That empty space over there? Tomorrow it'll be a shipyard that can build a destroyer in 6 hours. That's impossible. Commander, you keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. Dr. Yoonji, the head of human military research, came onto the observation deck carrying a data tablet. She looked tired but excited. Colonel, the first test of the adaptive shield system was successful. Show our guests, Jae-hyun said. Dr. Yoonji activated her tablet, and a holographic display appeared showing a recent battle. The Catherians attacked one of our scout groups with their crystal lance weapon, the energy beam that destroyed so many Coalition fleets. Commander Kethzar watched the display. I've seen this weapon. It cuts through any known shield technology. Not anymore, Dr. Yoonji said. Watch what happens. The hologram showed Catherian ships firing their deadly beams at human vessels. The first few human ships exploded just like Coalition ships always did. But then something strange happened. The next group of human ships survived the attack. How? Kethzar asked. Adaptive shielding, Dr. Yoonji explained. Every time they destroy one of our ships, our computers analyze exactly how the weapon works. Then we transmit new shield frequencies to every other human ship in the fleet. Within minutes, we're immune to that specific attack. But surely they can modify their weapons. They can try. But we adapt faster than they can modify. And every time they change their weapons, we learn more about how their technology works. The alien officers stared at the hologram. Commander Kethzar's compound eyes showed confusion and something that might have been hope. This is how humans fight? He asked. This is how humans solve problems, Jae-hyun replied. We don't accept that something is impossible. We figure out how to make it possible. An alarm sounded throughout the ship. Sir, called Woo-sung. Catherian fleet approaching. Large formation. Everyone moved to the main display. The screen showed hundreds of crystal ships moving toward their position. Beautiful and deadly. They're trying the same attack pattern they used at Proxima, Dr. Yoonji observed. Then they're going to be very surprised, Jae-hyun said. He opened a communication channel to all human forces in the area. All units, this is Colonel Jae-hyun. Enemy fleet approaching. Implement defense pattern Delta. Defense pattern Delta. It sounded simple, but it was something no military force in galactic history had ever attempted. Instead of moving their ships to defend fixed positions, the humans moved the positions themselves. The weapons platforms that had been built around asteroids suddenly began to move. Massive thruster arrays activated, and entire stations started flying through space like giant ships. "What are you doing?" Kethazar asked in amazement. "The Catherians planned their attack based on where our defenses were 10 minutes ago," Jae-hyun explained. "But our defenses aren't there anymore." On the screen, they watched as Catherian ships fired their weapons at empty space. Their tactical computers had calculated perfect attack runs against fixed targets, but the targets were no longer fixed. Meanwhile, the human weapons platforms opened fire from completely unexpected positions. Asteroid-sized chunks of rock flew through space at incredible speeds. Laser beams designed by human engineers cut through Catherian crystal hulls like hot knives through ice. But the most amazing thing was what happened next. As the battle continued, human ships and platforms began to move in patterns that seemed almost like a dance. Every time the Catherians adapted to one position, the humans had already moved to another. "Sir," reported Minji, "our mobile factories are keeping up with ammunition demand. We're actually producing rounds faster than we're firing them." General Minho's voice came over the communication system from one of the battle platforms. "Colonel Jae-hyun, we're seeing something interesting. The Catherians are trying to retreat, but our construction ships are following them." "Following them?" "Building as they go. We're setting up supply depots and refuel stations along their retreat route. By the time they regroup for another attack, we'll have defensive positions everywhere they might want to go." Dr. Yoonji laughed. It was the first time Jae-hyun had heard her laugh since the war began. "What's funny?" he asked. "I just realized something. The Catherians think this is a battle, but it's not. It's a construction project. We're not fighting them. We're building around them." Commander Kethzar looked at the display where human construction ships were indeed building new structures, even as the battle continued. "You're building? During combat?" "Commander," Jae-hyun said, "humans have been building things in dangerous places for thousands of years. We built cities in deserts, on mountains, underwater, in space. A little weapons fire isn't going to stop us from building what we need to build." The battle continued for 3 more hours, but it wasn't really a battle anymore. Every Catherian attack was met by human defenses that had been specifically designed to counter that exact attack. Every Catherian retreat led them to new human positions that hadn't existed an hour before. Finally, the Catherian fleet withdrew completely, leaving the field to the humans. "Sir," reported Woo-sung, "Admiral So-young is requesting a status report. Tell her that Section C is fully operational, Section B will be ready in 4 hours, and Section A is ahead of schedule. What about casualties?" Jae-hyun checked his reports. "Surprisingly light. When your enemy can't hit what they're aiming at, they can't do much damage." Dr. Yoonji was already working on her next project. "Colonel, I've been analyzing the Catherian retreat pattern. I think I know where they'll regroup." "Where?" "Grid reference Theta 7. It's a nebula with good cover and multiple escape routes." "What do you want to do about it?" Dr. Yoonji smiled. "I want to get there first, with construction ships." Jae-hyun looked out at the space around them, now filled with human-built structures that hadn't existed a day ago. Weapons platforms, supply depots, communication arrays, and factories, all built while under attack. "Dr. Yoonji, I think the Catherians are about to learn something important about humans." "What's that?" "We're not here to fight a war, we're here to build a victory." Commander Yoo-jin sat in the communication center of the Coalition intelligence ship Silent Watch and listened to something that had never been heard before in the galaxy: panic in Catherian transmissions. "Play that last intercept again," she told her team. The speakers crackled with the sound of alien voices speaking in the Catherian language. But even without understanding the words, anyone could hear the fear. "What are they saying?" asked Lieutenant Seok-jin. "The translation computer is having trouble with some of the words," Yoo-jin replied. "But the basic meaning is clear. They're confused. Their commanders don't understand what's happening to them." She pulled up a holographic display showing the last 3 battles between human and Catherian forces. In each battle, the same pattern had emerged. The Catherians would attack using tactics that had worked perfectly for centuries. But instead of fighting back in expected ways, the humans would simply change. Listen to this one, she said, playing another intercepted transmission. The Catherian voice sounded frustrated and desperate. The translation appeared on the screen. Ship leader, our crystal lance weapons are not working. The human vessels absorb our attacks and continue fighting. And this one, Yujin said, playing the next message. Fleet commander, the human defensive positions have moved again. Our targeting computers cannot lock onto their weapons platforms. Lieutenant Seokjin shook his head. They sound like they're fighting ghosts. In a way they are, Yujin said. Every time they think they understand human tactics, the humans change. Every time they develop a counter to human weapons, the humans build new weapons. Admiral Seong-ho's voice came over the communication system. Commander Yujin, report to my ready room. Yujin left her station and walked through the corridors of the ship. As she passed other crew members, she noticed something she hadn't seen in months. People were smiling. Not the desperate smiles of people trying to stay brave, but real smiles. Hope was returning to the coalition forces. Admiral Seong-ho was studying tactical displays when she entered his ready room. But these weren't normal tactical displays. Instead of showing ship positions and battle formations, they showed something much more complex. Construction schedules, resource flows, and production timelines. Commander, I need you to look at something, he said. The display changed to show a time-lapse view of the last week of fighting, but instead of focusing on battles, it focused on what the humans were building. The view showed empty space slowly, filling with structures. Weapons platforms, factories, supply depots, communication arrays, all built while the fighting was happening. They're not just winning battles, Admiral Seong-ho said. They're transforming the entire war zone into an industrial center. Sir, I've been monitoring Catherian communications. They don't understand what they're facing. Show me. Yujin activated her data tablet and played a series of intercepted messages. The translations scrolled across the screen, showing the growing confusion and fear in Catherian transmissions. Fleet leader, request. Permission to withdraw to Sector 9. Human forces are building weapons platforms faster than we can destroy them. Ship commander reporting. We destroyed a human factory ship 3 hours ago. There are now 2 factory ships in the same location. Emergency message. Human vessels are upgrading their weapons during battle. Repeat. They are modifying their equipment while fighting. Admiral Seong-ho paused the playback. That last one, is it accurate? Yes, sir. I've seen it myself. Human ships will dock with their mobile factories in the middle of combat. They come out minutes later with new weapons designed specifically to counter whatever the Catherians just used against them. That's impossible. Yujin smiled. Sir, I've learned not to use that word when talking about humans. The communication system beeped. Admiral, came the voice of the bridge crew. We're receiving a transmission from the Catherian Emperor himself. The Emperor? Put it through. The screen showed the image of Emperor Zethkar, the supreme ruler of the Catherian Empire. He was a tall, crystalline being with multiple eyes and a voice like breaking glass. But for the first time since the war began, he looked uncertain. Coalition Command, I wish to speak with the human leaders. Admiral Seong-ho looked surprised. Your Majesty, this is Admiral Seong-ho of the Coalition Defense Force. The human fleet commanders are engaged in operations. I can relay any message. Tell them that the Catherian Empire demands to know what new weapons they are using. New weapons? Our forces report that human vessels are immune to our most powerful attacks. Our scouts report human construction of defensive systems that violate known laws of physics. We demand an explanation. Yujin whispered to Admiral Seong-ho. Sir, they still don't understand. They think the humans have secret superweapons. Admiral Seong-ho nodded and spoke to the Emperor. Your Majesty, the humans are not using any secret weapons. They are using adaptive technology and rapid construction techniques. Impossible. No race can build defensive systems faster than we can destroy them. With respect, Your Majesty, humans can. The Emperor's crystalline features shifted in what might have been anger. We have conquered 17 civilizations. Our technology is superior to anything in the galaxy. Your technology is very advanced, Admiral Shung Ho agreed. But humans don't try to match your technology. They try to make your technology irrelevant. The transmission ended abruptly. Emperor Zethkar had cut the connection. Sir, Yujin said, I think we just witnessed something historic. The Catherian Emperor just admitted in public that his forces are failing. Admiral Seung Ho pulled up another display, this one showing the current positions of all forces in the war. The Catherian Empire, which had controlled most of known space just weeks ago, was now reduced to a few core systems. Meanwhile, human-built structures dotted the map like a growing infection. Commander, I want you to continue monitoring Catherian communications, but I think we need to start monitoring something else. What's that, sir? Civilian transmissions from Catherian worlds. I suspect we're about to see something that hasn't happened in Catherian history. What? Civil unrest. When a military empire starts losing battles they're supposed to win easily, their people start asking questions. Yujin returned to her station and began expanding her monitoring operations. Within hours, she was picking up transmissions from throughout Catherian space, and Admiral Seung Ho had been right. The messages weren't from military units, they were from ordinary Catherian citizens. Why are our fleets retreating? The news says we are winning, but my son's ship has not returned. How can the humans build so many weapons so quickly? Are we losing the war? That last question appeared more and more frequently in the transmissions. The Catherian military had always told their people that they were invincible, that their technology and tactics could not be defeated. But now, for the first time in their history, Catherian citizens were seeing their military fail. Captain Na Young's voice came over the communication system from her position near the front lines. Commander Yujin, I'm seeing something you need to know about. What is it, Captain? Catherian ships are surrendering. Yujin almost dropped her data tablet. Surrendering? 3 destroyers just powered down their weapons and sent surrender codes. They're requesting permission to land on the nearest human-controlled world. What do the humans want to do with them? That's the interesting part. The humans aren't treating them as prisoners, they're offering them jobs. Jobs? Construction jobs. The humans need workers for all the building projects they have planned. They're offering the Catherians full pay, housing, and citizenship in human space if they want to help build instead of destroy. Yujin stared at her screens. Catherian soldiers, who had been feared throughout the galaxy, were abandoning their ships to work construction jobs for humans. Sir, called Lieutenant Seok Jin, I'm getting reports from multiple sectors. Catherian fleets are breaking up. Some ships are retreating, some are surrendering, and some are just leaving. Leaving? Heading for unexplored space. Like they're running away from the war entirely. Yujin pulled up a galaxy-wide map. The Catherian Empire, which had seemed so powerful just months ago, was falling apart. Not because their ships were being destroyed, but because their crews were giving up. Commander, Admiral Seung Ho's voice called over the intercom. Come to the bridge. You need to see this. She hurried to the bridge and found the entire crew staring at the main screen. It showed a live feed from a human construction platform near what had been a major Catherian military base. The base was still there, but it was completely different. Where there had once been weapon emplacements and military structures, there were now civilian buildings, factories, and what looked like schools. How long ago was this base captured? Yujin asked. 18 hours. Admiral Seung Ho replied. And they've already converted it to civilian use? Not just civilian use. According to the reports, they're building a technical college. They want to teach former Catherian soldiers how to be engineers and construction workers. Yujin watched the screen in amazement. Sir, I think the war is over. What do you mean? The humans haven't just defeated the Catherian military. They've made military thinking obsolete. Why fight when you can build? Why destroy when you can create? Admiral Changmin stood on the bridge of the human flagship New Seoul and looked at the most beautiful and terrifying sight in the galaxy, the Catherian homeworld surrounded by a human fleet. But this wasn't the kind of siege anyone expected. Instead of weapons platforms and battle formations, the space around the planet was filled with construction ships, factory vessels, and what appeared to be the largest space station ever built, all constructed in just 5 days. "Status report," he requested. "Sir, the civilian space station is at 90% completion," reported Commander Hyojin. "The Cultural Exchange Center will be online in 6 hours, and the Technical University is already accepting applications. Any response from the planetary government?" "There." "Confused, sir. They keep asking when we plan to attack." Changmin smiled. It was the same confusion they had seen throughout the war. Other races thought in terms of conquest and destruction. Humans thought in terms of construction and cooperation. "Sir," called out Communications Officer Junho, "we're receiving another transmission from Emperor Zethkar." "Put him through." The crystal form of the Catherian Emperor appeared on the main screen. He looked tired and defeated, but also curious. "Human Admiral, what are your terms for surrender?" Changmin stood up. "Your Majesty, we are not here to accept your surrender. We're here to offer you a partnership." "Partnership? Your Majesty, the human government has studied your empire for months. We know your people are skilled engineers and builders. We know your crystal-growing technology is more advanced than anything else in the galaxy. We want to work with you, not conquer you. You want our technology. We want to share technology. Humans have industrial techniques your people have never seen. Catherians have crystal engineering that humans have never imagined. Together, we can build things that neither of our peoples could build alone." Dr. Sun-hee, the human diplomat, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, may I show you what we've built in orbit around your world?" The screen changed to show the massive space station. But as the camera moved closer, it became clear that this wasn't a military installation. It was a city, a floating city in space with gardens, schools, laboratories, and homes. "We call it Gateway Station," Dr. Sun-hee explained. "It's designed to be a meeting place between our peoples. Humans and Catherians can live here, work here, learn from each other." "And if we refuse?" Changmin answered honestly. "Then we'll leave. We'll take our station with us and find somewhere else to build it. But Your Majesty, your people are already coming to us." It was true. Over the past week, thousands of Catherian ships had approached the human fleet. Not to fight, but to defect. Catherian soldiers, engineers, and civilians were abandoning their military empire to join the human construction projects. "Why?" the Emperor asked. "Why are my people leaving?" Dr. Sun-hee spoke gently. "Because humans offer them something your empire never could. The chance to build instead of destroy. The chance to create instead of conquer." Commander Wu Jin, who had been monitoring transmissions from the planet's surface, spoke up. "Your Majesty, we're receiving thousands of applications from your citizens. They want to study at our universities, work in our factories, help build new colonies. You would trust former enemies with such important work?" "Your Majesty," Changmin said, "humans don't believe in permanent enemies. We believe in people who haven't been given better opportunities yet." The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. Finally he spoke. "What happens to me? What happens to the Catherian government?" "That depends on what you want to happen," Dr. Sun-hee replied. "If you want to continue ruling a military empire, you're welcome to try. But most of your military has already joined our construction projects. If you want to help us build a better galaxy, we would be honored to work with you. You would make me a partner? After everything my empire has done? Your Majesty, humans have a saying. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. The past is the past. What matters is what we build together in the future." On the screen they could see the Emperor's crystalline form change color slightly, a sign of deep thought in Catherian biology. "Admiral Changmin, I have a question." "Yes, Your Majesty." "How did you build all of this so quickly?" "Our intelligence report said humans were a young species with limited technology." Changmin looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They all smiled at the same question they had heard so many times during the war. "Your Majesty, humans are very good at not showing all of their cards at once. When we joined the galactic community, we showed you what you expected to see. A small fleet, basic technology, a minor power. But we've been preparing for this moment for 30 years. Preparing for war? Preparing for the possibility of war, but also preparing for the possibility of peace. Every factory ship in our fleet can build weapons or civilian structures. Every construction platform can make defensive systems or hospitals. We built the tools we needed for whatever the galaxy would demand. Dr. Sun He added, Your Majesty, humans learned long ago that the best way to win a war is to make it unnecessary. We didn't defeat your empire by destroying it. We defeated it by offering your people something better. Commander Kyung-soo, the young engineer who had been overseeing the construction projects, spoke up from his station. Your Majesty, if I may, we're not here as conquerors. We're here as builders. And the greatest thing we want to build is peace. The Emperor looked at the display showing the space station. Thousands of beings, human and Catherian, were working together on construction projects, building homes, schools, laboratories, and gardens. This station, Gateway Station, it's really for both our peoples. Completely integrated, Dr. Sun He confirmed. Catherian crystal-growing bays next to human fabrication workshops. Your people's meditation gardens connected to our recreation centers. Shared laboratories where human and Catherian scientists can work on projects together. And you built all of this in 5 days? Your Majesty, Changmin said, that's what humans do. When we decide to build something, we build it quickly, and we build it well. The transmission was quiet for several minutes. Then, slowly, Emperor Zethkar began to speak. Admiral Changmin, Dr. Sun He, I have ruled the Catherian Empire for 40 years. In that time, we conquered 17 worlds and defeated dozens of fleets. But in all those years, no one ever offered us what you are offering. What are we offering that others haven't? Hope. The chance to be part of something larger than conquest and destruction. The Emperor paused, then continued. I accept your partnership, not as a surrender, but as a choice. The Catherian Empire ends today. The Catherian people begin something new. Cheers erupted on the bridge of the New Soul, but they weren't cheers of victory over an enemy. They were cheers of welcome for new friends. Your Majesty, Dr. Sun He said, would you like to visit Gateway Station? We have quarters prepared for you and your advisors. I would be honored. As the transmission ended, Admiral Changmin looked out at the space around the Catherian homeworld. What had been a war zone yesterday was becoming a construction site today. Human and Catherian ships worked together, building the infrastructure for a peaceful future. Commander Wu Jin approached him with a data tablet. Sir, I have the final reports on the war. What do they say? Total human military casualties, fewer than 10,000. Total Catherian military casualties, fewer than 5,000. But total number of former soldiers now working in construction and engineering projects, over 2 million. Changmin nodded. Those were the numbers that mattered. Not how many people died, but how many people were building new lives. Sir, Commander Kyung-soo called from his engineering station. I'm getting reports from our deep space monitoring stations. We're detecting signals from beyond the galactic rim. What kind of signals? Exploration beacons, automated probes. It looks like there are other civilizations out there that we haven't met yet. Changmin looked at the display showing the galaxy. For the first time in history, the major powers weren't at war with each other. The coalition races were rebuilding. The former Catherian Empire was becoming a network of peaceful worlds. And humans were doing what humans did best. Looking for the next challenge, the next opportunity to build something amazing. Kyung-soo, how long would it take to build exploration ships capable of reaching the galactic rim? With Catherian crystal technology integrated with our construction systems, maybe 6 months for a full exploration fleet. Then let's start building. The galaxy is finally at peace. Time to see what's beyond it. Dr. Sun He smiled. Admiral, do you think we'll find more wars to end out there? Changmin looked at the space around them, where thousands of beings who had been enemies just days ago were now working together to build a better future. Dr. Sun He, I hope we find more friends to make. Outside the windows of the New Soul, construction continued. Humans and Catherians working side by side, building not just space stations and factories, but the foundation of a new kind of galactic civilization. One based on cooperation instead of conquest, creation instead of destruction, and the human belief that any problem could be solved with enough engineering, enough resources, and enough determination to make the galaxy a better place for everyone. Admiral Hyun-soo stared at the massive screen in front of him. Red lights blinked everywhere, showing the positions of enemy ships. Each red dot meant death. Each red dot meant another coalition ship destroyed. His hands shook as he watched the last defense line around Nexus Prime fall apart. "Sir, we lost another battle group," reported Lieutenant Da-eun from her station. Her voice was steady, but Hyun-soo could see the fear in her eyes. They all felt it. The Catherian Empire was winning this war, and they were winning it easily. 18. Months ago, when the Catherians first attacked, everyone thought the coalition would win quickly. 12 different alien races working together. Advanced technology. Millions of ships. How could they lose? But the Catherians were different. Their crystal ships moved faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Their energy weapons could destroy an entire fleet in seconds. Worse, they seemed to know exactly what the coalition would do before they did it. Another distress signal from Sector 7, called out Commander Taeho. "The Altarian Third Fleet is gone." That word had become too common. Whole fleets, entire worlds, all gone. The Catherians didn't just defeat their enemies, they erased them. Hyun-soo walked to the window and looked out at space. Nexus Prime had been the coalition's strongest fortress. Now enemy ships surrounded it like hungry wolves, crystal formations that looked beautiful but brought only death. "Sir, incoming message from Coalition Command," said Communications Officer Bora. She was young, barely out of the academy, but she had seen more war in 18 months than most soldiers saw in their entire lives. "Put it through," Hyun-soo said. The face of Admiral Kethvar appeared on screen. The insect-like being's compound eyes showed the same fear they all felt. "Admiral Hyun-soo, I have orders for you." "What are they?" "Evacuate Nexus Prime. We're falling back to the rim systems. The rim systems, the edge of known space. If they retreated there, it meant giving up everything. Every world, every colony, every hope. Sir, with respect, if we run now, where do we run to next?" Hyun-soo asked. Kethvar's mandibles clicked sadly. "I don't know. The Council is discussing options." The connection ended. Hyun-soo turned back to his crew. They all looked at him, waiting for orders. These people trusted him. They believed he could somehow save them. "Sir," Bora said quietly, "I'm getting another transmission. It's from Earth." Earth. The small blue planet that most aliens thought was barely civilized. Humans had joined the coalition only 5 years ago. Their first armada had been brave but small, helpful, but not really important in the big picture. "What does Earth want?" Hyun-soo asked. Bora listened to her earpiece, then looked up with confusion. They say their second armada is launching. They want us to hold the line." Several alien officers laughed. Not cruel laughter, but the kind people make when they're too tired and scared to think clearly. "The humans think they can help?" asked Commander Welton, a tall gray being from Proxima. Their first fleet was tiny. What can a second fleet do? At a station near the back, a young human officer named Jin Woo looked up from his work. He had been quiet during most of the war, just doing his job with communications. But now he spoke up. "You don't understand," Jin Woo said. "None of you understand what Earth is really like." "What do you mean?" Hyun-soo asked. Jin Woo stood up. He was small compared to most of the aliens on the bridge, but something in his voice made everyone listen. "You think Earth is just one world with a few billion people? You think we're new to space, new to technology, but you're wrong." "Explain," Hyun-soo said. "When Earth joined the coalition, we only showed you what you expected to see. A small fleet, basic technology. We didn't lie, but we didn't tell you everything either." The bridge fell silent except for the quiet beeping of machines. Outside, The window Cytherian ships moved closer to Nexus Prime. My home system has been building ships for 30 years, Jinwoo continued. Not just Earth, Mars, the asteroids, the outer planets, we've been preparing. Preparing for what? Asked Bo-Ra. For war. Not this war specifically. But we knew war would come someday. Humans learn from history. We remember what happens when peaceful people aren't ready to fight. Commander Welton shook his head. Even if you built more ships, the Cytherians have better technology, better weapons. They've beaten everyone. Jinwoo smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. Technology isn't everything. The Cytherians have the same weapons they've always had. The same tactics. They win because they're stronger and faster. But what happens when strength isn't enough? Before anyone could answer, alarms started going off. Lieutenant Dayun checked her screens and called out, "Sir, Cytherian attack formation moving toward us. Estimated arrival in 2 hours." Hyun-Soo felt his heart sink. 2 hours. That's how long Nexus Prime had left. That's how long the Coalition had left. "Sir," Bo-Ra said, "the Earth transmission is still coming in. They're sending more details about their second Armada." "What details?" Bo-Ra's face went pale as she listened. "Sir, they're saying the second Armada has 50,000 ships." Silence. Complete silence on the bridge. "That's impossible," whispered Commander Welton. "No one has 50,000 ships." "Check the transmission again," Hyun-Soo ordered. Bo-Ra listened carefully, then looked up. "Confirmed, sir. 50,000 ships. And sir, they're not just warships. They're sending construction vessels, factory ships, resource processors. It's like they're bringing their entire civilization to war." Jinwoo nodded slowly. "Now you're starting to understand." "But how?" Dayun asked. "How could humans build so many ships without anyone knowing?" "Because you weren't looking," Jinwoo said. "You saw what you expected to see. A young species just starting to explore space, but humans don't do anything small. When we decide to build a fleet, we build the biggest fleet possible. When we go to war, we go to win." Admiral Hyun-Soo stared out at the approaching Cytherian ships. 50,000 human ships, it sounded too good to be true. But what if it wasn't? "Jinwoo," he said, "what exactly is Earth sending us?" "Everything," Jinwoo replied. "Every ship we've built, every weapon we've made, every person who can fight. Earth isn't sending a fleet to help in your war. Earth is ending this war." The communication console beeped again. Bo-Ra listened and then announced, "Sir, Earth is requesting all Coalition forces to hold their positions. The second Armada will arrive in 18 hours. 18 hours. Could they hold Nexus Prime for 18 hours against the Cytherian assault?" Hyun-Soo looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. Aliens from a dozen different worlds, all facing the same terrible end. But now, maybe, just maybe, there was hope. "All stations," he announced over the ship's communication system. "This is Admiral Hyun-Soo. We have new orders. We are not retreating. We are not running. We are holding this position for 18 hours. Earth's second Armada is coming, and we're going to be here when they arrive." He turned to Jinwoo. "I hope you're right about your people." Jinwoo looked out at the stars toward the direction of Earth. "Admiral, you're about to learn what happens when humanity goes to war. Really goes to war." Outside, the Cytherian ships came closer. Their crystal hulls glowed with deadly energy. But for the first time in months, Admiral Hyun-Soo felt something other than fear. He felt hope.